Welcome to Symmetrix platform, and in this video, we're going to talk about location analytics. Um, so before we get into all the details, let's quickly talk about the Symmetrix platform. It is a unique HR tech and analytics platform unifying job seekers, recruiters, and employers. Um, Symmetrix tries to solve the problems and tensions between various roles in the HR tech industry. Candidates, from their experience, job changing journey is very inefficient. New job wage is mostly dependent on previous wage. Negotiation discussions are a hit or miss, and they are not data driven. And job remorse always exists, depending on who you talk to. From a recruiter's and staffer's perspective, making a fair deal between candidate and employer is generally based on luck. They are not necessarily driven by data, um, and so on and so forth. Employers always want to hire more tech talent, always want to do more projects, but they are having staff shortage. So, how do they ensure to keep their existing tech talent happy in addition to continuously hiring more? So, all of these decisions to bring about the most efficient system should be driven by data, but unfortunately, the industry is not. And Symmetrix tries to bring some balance to this HR tech industry. It's a benchmarking platform, so that's where the journey starts. You talk about various analytics, and in this video also we are going to talk about location analytics. It helps talent access and mobility, and it helps integrate with course providers, assessment platforms, and job boards, and helps you to make choices. Um, for details like account registration, use cases, and so on and so forth, please visit symmetrix.fi. That's it. Let's get into the location analytics. Let's talk about our overall goal here. Um, we want to talk about location in the context of state and city-wide under a category of report called information, which is highlighted as INF. Then we want to talk about when you would like to move states, how would you evaluate an employer, a job title, and so on. So that falls under a category called what if, and wage goals across state level and city level. Hence, that falls under a category called Go. Now, the way in which all reports are organized in Symmetrix um, is map like this. So, what you have is the category. So, you have six categories: informational, what if, goal based, industry, job, family, and miscellaneous. And under each of those categories, you have subcategories. This is a mental map of all the reports organized in Symmetrix. And in this specific training video, we're going to look at location analytics, focused more on state and city, but there are other reports as well that give us this data. So let's jump into the platform. So as soon as you log in to the platform with your free plan, this is how you would look at all the reports. They will appear as a list, or if you would like to, rather see as dashboards with preview of all the insights that appear, you could switch to the dashboard view. Now let's jump in and let's start taking a look at the first one that we talked about, which is state and citywide information. So whenever you're looking for information, you can search for INF. Then let's start looking into state KPIs. So as soon as you open the dashboard, on the left, you'll find some filters, and on the right, you'll find all the insights or the information that you're looking for. You could select any year. By default, 2022 is selected, and then you could select a state. Here at the top, you'd find three tabs: wage KPIs, approval KPIs, and README KPIs. Now, each of those tabs have various insights and metrics. Let's look into wage KPI. So, under the wage KPI, in the year 2022, in the state of California, we have about 33K jobs, right, that were hired. The number of cities were about 705. The number of employers in the state of California were about 15.9. If you look at the wage trend and so on and so forth, you could see the trend here keeps on increasing. You could see the lower wage and the upper wage. You could see the top employers. But let's focus on the location analytics. So in the state of California, if we see the top employers, we find each of these employers which with their corresponding lower wage, average, upper wage, and also the prevailing wage, which is the minimum wage that the government sets for this, for all the job titles grouped under this employer. Similarly, you could see the job titles in the state of California that were hired, ordered in terms of the highest upper wage. And similarly, you could also see the same information in a table. Now, uh, among the 33K job titles, let's say you're interested in a particular job title, you could always search for that. I don't know, let's say data scientist, right? So as soon as you start typing it, you would see all of the job titles that were hired in the state of California. You could also see the top cities, right, in terms of the higher wage that they offered, and you could see the same information in a table. Let's say, for example, I don't know, San Jose, right? As soon as you start looking for San Jose, you'll start seeing the metrics across each of this. So that is statewide KPIs. The same thing you could also drill down to the citywide KPIs. So you could go to city wage KPIs. So if you're interested, you're living in a particular city, you're interested only in the analytics for that city, you could select that. So let's take California and Mountain View, apply the filters, and you could see all of the information. So the number of job titles, the number of employers in the city, who were the top employers in terms of their pay, who were the top employers. The same thing, information available in a table. You could see who were the employers split down by year, state, city, and so on and so forth. Now, obviously, the filters are selected to Mountain View, so you would see only Mountain View records and the corresponding, um, average wage, minimum wage, maximum wage, median wage. Median wage is also a very important criteria, and in fact, median is the industry standard when you want to evaluate your salary. Um, and you could look at the job titles in a bar chart, or you could see the same job titles in the city by wage. So all of this information is neatly available to you through these information dashboards. But let's take a look at what other location analytics could you see. You could look at moving states and accordingly look for which employer you want to look when you move states. How are these employers performing? How are the certain job titles performing? So you can go to the dashboards, and this falls under a category called what if. So you could search for what if, and then let's look at employer and job title. So moving states, let's look at employer KPIs. So in this case, what you're looking at is in the year 2022, when you are moving from state California to state Texas, how would employers look? How are employers comparing to each other across these two states? So in the state of California, for example, you're looking at Bayer Process Corporation, um, and what you're looking at, let me hide the screen here, and you're looking at Bayer Corporation in terms of the average lower wage, upper wage, and the prevailing wage. So you could keep scrolling down, and on the left what you see is all the California employers, and on the right you see all Texas employers. So in this way you could start quickly comparing when you're moving across states, what is the lower wage, what is the upper wage, what is the median wage, and whether you want to move, and if so, which employers that you want to target at, right? So this is, you are evaluating employers. Now the same thing, you could see the top 10 employers from state, which is California. What are the top 10 employers? The same information you could see from Texas, which is the two state, right? The one that you select here. So in this way, you could quickly start comparing employers across states, and use cases. If you're moving across states, how would you maximize your return on investment in terms of moving across employers? So that is moving across employers. Now let's say you want to retain your job title at the same time and move across states. So in that case, you want to look for what if, then you want to look for same job title wage. Let's look at this. Let's go to the wage KPIs. Oh, sorry. This is the wrong dashboard that you're looking at. You want to look at move states, right? Move states, and then job title KPIs. Let me refresh the screen. There you go. So another example here, what we're looking at is in the year 2022, let's say you wanted to move from California to Texas. What are the top job titles in California ordered by wage, right? You could see the lower wage, you could see the upper wage, and you could also see the accepted minimum wage that the government sets for those job titles. And likewise, you could see the same thing for Texas. And so you're in a position to quickly evaluate job titles across states, and so you could maximize your opportunity in terms of which job titles that you want to target at, right? Let's say you wanted to make 300K, so you could quickly start looking for values uh, that match the job titles which pay at least 300K, and so on and so forth. Now, quickly taking a look at all of these, you can see the top job titles are always in the medical healthcare domain, but quickly you'll start to see that you'll start getting into the information technology, high tech sector, and a bulk of them still remain in the software jobs, majority of them, right? Um, okay, so that's you're looking at moving states, job title KPIs. So you got some more location analytics, and the final one that you can start looking at is um, wage goals. So let's say you have a certain wage goal, and you want to look at which states meet your wage goals, which cities meet your wage goals. So you could quickly start um, looking at the dashboards. You could start looking for the category goal, and so you could start looking at wage goals and the state level. So in on the left you can select your goal in terms of your lower bound and upper bound. So in this case, in the year 2022 in California, let's say your lower bound is 79K, let's increase it to 100K, and let's say your upper bound is 200K. So you wanted to look for all of the employers job titles and so on and so forth in the state of California which pay anywhere between 100K to 200K, right? And so once you apply the filters, first what you see is a histogram which tells you what is the range of salaries on the lower end that got paid in the state of California. Then you have the upper, what is the upper end. Then you come to employers meeting your wage goals in between 100K to which employers paid. And so you could find that employers in the state of California in the year 2022 that meet your wage goals. And similarly, you could also see the cities that meet your wage goals, right? And then finally, you could see the job titles meeting your wage goals. So we have just scratched the surface of what is available in the Symmetrics platform in terms of focusing on location and looking at the performance of various employers, cities, by measuring your wage goals. In fact, if you do not want to measure wage, sometimes your information might just be, let's take for example, state KPIs. The first example, you could look at the numbers in terms of approval KPIs. So what approval KPIs tells you is the number of jobs. It focuses on the number of jobs and not just on the salary. um, though salary is an important criteria for majority of us, sometimes numbers do matter. Let's say you want to find which state hired you know most number of jobs in California. So you're looking at Google, right? Google hired the maximum number in the year 2022. So maybe you want to look at that company. You want to look at which top job title was in the year 2020. That is most number of jobs. So it's software engineer, about 18K, and so on and so forth. So let's wrap it up in terms of what we were looking at is the location analytics. So Symmetrics platform gives you various metrics and platforms by focusing on a location, state and wide. Now, location does matter for majority of us because your tax matters, your amount of property tax matters, how you commute from point A to point B, what is your time investment, all of those matter. So location does play an important role, and Symmetric gives you valuable dashboards and valuable insights and metrics um, in terms of your next job search, your current job search, or it might be just improving your overall experience at your current job. All right. Before we leave, I just want to highlight this. Paid plans are also there for this. They will include multi-value selection. You'll be able to get these dashboards sent to your email with automated notifications. You'll be able to download data, and if you have any custom data needs and custom requests, also we'll be able to do it through a paid plan. Um, so, with that said, I'd like to close by saying please register at symmetrics.fi, and we thank you for your time.